Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some cards that you need to be picking up right now because Foundations has dropped and the prices of certain very exciting cards from that set, from the reprints from that set, have dropped as well. Let's jump into them, starting off with a big one. Rise of the Dark Realms. Now, this card has been a finisher in Commander for a long time. I mean, like 10 years or so. Get every creature from every graveyard into play under your control. Basically, permanent insurrection, kind of, but everything that's dead comes back, and it is now yours. $3 right now, dropping down from like $8, $9, $10. So again, if you've been waiting for this giant finisher, make sure you pick it up right now. Moving on, we've got Brass's Bounty. Now, this one is cheap right now, just 14 cents, and the drop was, well, for around $1 or so. That being said, still, it's a card that has fluctuated over time, was around $2 or $3 at one point. Now, dirt cheap right now. A way to get a lot of treasures out for each land you control. If you've got a treasure deck, a token deck, or just a mass ritual effect deck that you really want a bunch of mana, pick this one up again. Super cheap now. Probably the cheapest I remember it being, 14 cents. Next up, 44 cents right now for Day of Judgment, a card that at one point really hadn't seen any reprints for a long time. It's basically Wrath of God minus no regeneration, but most creatures don't regenerate. So yeah, it's basically Wrath of God. Source for 4 mana, destroy all creatures. So if you've been looking for efficient board wipes and a very effectively efficient one when it comes to price as well, just 44 cents for this one right now, down from around $1 to $2 or so. Next up, we got Time Stop, a very strange card, but a very cool card. This one is 20 cents right now, down from around like $3, $4 or so. So it is a significant drop, one that hasn't really seen many reprints ever. I mean, 10th edition was like the last actual one. There's a secret lair drop with it too, but that doesn't really affect price too much. So yeah, 20 cents, the cheapest you'll ever see. This one, instant speed, 6 mana, end the turn. This is a card that, well, there are certain like weird and wonky things you can do with it, like Obeka type decks basically. But yes, this one also just like, you know what? Hey opponent, I don't like what you're doing over there. Skip your turn, basically, is what you're doing to them. So there you go. Next up, we've got Boros Charm. Now, this card is an uncommon, but its price is never going to be uncommon levels. It is a very good card. I mean, probably the best of the charms out there. 2 mana, basically give everything indestructible that you have. That is usually what this is used for. You can ping someone or a planeswalker in the face if you want, or you can give something double strike, which is also good. That being said, 2 mana, protect all your things. That's huge. $2.50 right now, down from like $5. Again, it's uncommon. This price might drop a little bit further, but yeah, right now it's a good time to pick it up. Moving on, we've got Omniscience. Hey, do you like free things? Cool. Well, the price of this is not free at all. It is $3 or so, but this card over the years has gone from like, yeah, like $15, $20, $30 or so, down to just $3 right now, a massive price drop. Being able to just cast every single spell out of your hand for free, that is absolutely huge. Yeah, it takes 10 mana to get this out, but if you can maybe find a way to cheat it out or reduce that cost, you can do a lot of exciting and massive things with this one. So yeah, $3 down from like, yeah, 10, 12, 14, whatever amounts of dollars. Moving on. 1,000-Year Storm, yet another very exciting enchantment. One that I don't think has ever been under $1, at least that I've seen, because as a budget player, I'm always looking for cards under $1, and it's like, no. Okay, well, I guess I won't play with that until it's reprinted. And it has been 35 cents right now, dropping down from like $4 or $5. That is a huge price drop right there. It's an enchantment that basically says, hey, you cast in source spell, you copy for each other one that's cast this turn, choose targets of the copies. Basically, the more and more spells you cast in that turn that are instant sorceries, the more things that you are storming off with, basically. There you go, that's where the name comes from. So being able to get a ton of value out of this, again, like a Spellslinger deck or like a, ritual type deck, or like a big spells deck that is able to cast more than one spell in a turn and then just kind of like, hey, end cap it with that giant spell. That can be huge. So a really cool card. Next up, we've got Extravagant Replication. I love this card. This card is huge. This card is so much fun. And this card can get quite broken if you get things going with it. 32 cents right now, down from this was before Dustborn came out. This one was like, $6, $7, $8, $10 or so. Dropped down with Dustborn, but now drops down even further to just 32 cents, which is absurd from where this one came from. This is it's an enchantment that costs 6. It says the beginning of your upkeep, create a token's copy of another target non-land permanent you control. Yeah, being able to copy your permanents is huge, especially for certain types of commanders that can really take advantage of that, like ones that can use Populate, or like a Brutoclad type commander that can like change things into the same thing. But yeah, just this being like, yeah, your best thing in play, copy it. Copy it. Copy it. If you've got ways to use and abuse upkeeps, great. Or if you've got a way to actually copy this, because it can't copy itself, then you can have them copy each other again and again and again and have an absurd amount of extravagant replication. So there you go. You can just do a lot of crazy things with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a high impact card. It does take time for it to get online, but still, once it does, it can take over a game. 32 cents right now. Next up, Painful Quandary. Speaking of taking over a game, this is brutal. You got to be careful with the kinds of decks you play this in, and when you put it on the board, you better be able to take the hate you're going to be getting from your opponents, because, hey, your opponents cast spells, they're going to lose a lot of life. 5 life unless they discard a card. So it is an effect that doesn't affect you. It affects all of your opponents, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, here's what's going to happen. You know what? Yeah, you cast spells, you're going to get punished in one way or another. So you're either not going to have a hand or you're going to lose a lot of life. 31 cents right now, down from like $3 or $4 or so. Again, be careful the types of decks that you play this in, but if you can protect yourself, it can be a brutal card to actually, take over a game. Moving on, Doubling Season. Yeah, this card is basically always going to be on these types of episodes if it's reprinted, because it is a card that sees an absurd amount of play. It is a huge card. It doubles up your tokens, doubles up your counters as well. There's so much application for this card. It is absurd in Commander, and yeah, it's a card that's like always around like $40-$50 or so, and then it gets reprinted and it drops down. So again, this is the drop down period right now. $26 is probably the lowest you're going to see for it in a long time. That price will creep back up until inevitably it'll be reprinted again as a chase card in something too. So that's kind of how this works with Doubling Season. And basically any of the token doublers, but yeah, this one again does extra work for you with those counters as well. Moving on. Phyrexian Arena, a card that, well, yeah, if you just like a slow and steady, way to ensure that you're getting extra advantages on your opponents, a great way to draw a good amount of cards throughout the game. Upkeep, draw a card, lose 1 life. 1 life literally does not matter in Commander at all. That is 1/40th of your life total. Matters a lot more in other formats. But yeah, in Commander, it's like, yeah, who cares? 1 life for 1 card, you're going to do that any day of the week. 61 cents right now for this great draw engine for you, down from like $3 or $4 or so. It has seen more reprints over the past couple of years, so it's been going down in price. Moving on, Dictate of Krufix. Speaking of card draw, this one it goes about in a different way. This one costs about the exact same amount, mana value-wise, obviously, as Phyrexian Arena, just in blue. It's an enchantment you can flash it in at the beginning of each player's draw set. The player draws that additional card. Basically, it is a way to say, hey, it's kind of like a Howling Bind in a way. Everyone gets a card. Everyone gets a card. I mean, I can flash it in so I get the first card drawn off of it. Good for me. But every single player is going to be drawing extra cards. So this kind of a card can definitely see play in decks that are maybe more group huggy, but also decks that are like, you know what? I might have ways to punish my opponents for drawing cards, or take advantage of my opponents for drawing their cards, and I get extra cards, or whatever extra benefits I get. So yeah, $1 right now, down from this card was like $3, $4 or so. From starting off at a card that, like, when I first started the channel, it was very budget friendly, and then it's like, yeah, we're never going to reprint it. And then they did in 2018 finally, and then they didn't reprint it again. So yeah, this is a card that finally decked back down to about $1 or so. Next up, Authority of the Consuls. This card, I did not realize, my goodness, like a $10 card or so. I mean, this is another one that at some point, I kind of just ignored the fact that this existed unless I'm playing against it, because it's a card that, yeah, literally has not seen many reprints at all. It was reprinted on the list, which is not really a full reprint. It hasn't really ever been reprinted since Kaladesh, which is, when it first came out. And this card just kept going up in price because it is very relevant in 2 ways. And it's a enchantment that costs a single mana, 1 mana for this. Creatures opponents enter the battlefield tap. That is huge, slowing your opponents down. On top of that, whenever a creature opponent controls enters, you gain 1 life. So life gain strategies, love this. It's just a nice way to pad your life total. Stack strategies as well, just ways to slow down your opponents. So yeah, it's a card that does a lot of work for you. $2.75 right now, down from like $10 or so. Pretty crazy. Moving on. Witchclaw Talisman. This is a really fun card. It's just like, you know what? Let's throw some chaos into the game. Artifact for 2 mana, 3 wish counters on it, pay 1 tap, remove a wish counter from it, go tutor up something, get in your hand, then give it to an opponent. So basically, hey, you know what? I'm tutoring for something. Let's make a deal. I'll give it to you. You tutor for something. You give it back to me. Then I tutor for something. Yay, everybody wins. Well, okay. We win, the opponents no win. Yay, good. Okay, $1.89 right now, down from like $3-4 or so. Yeah, it is a weird kind of a tutor. It's one that you can get a lot of value with. It is one that you can definitely politic with as well. So if you are good at politics, or if you want to start practicing being good at politics and Magic, it's a good card to do so, because you need to make sure you're like, hey, you know what, opponent, you might need to do this. Like, okay, technically I don't have to show you the card that I'm tutoring for right now, okay, but I will. All right, I'll make you a deal. I tutor for something, I'll show you what it is, and then you tutor for something, and then you give it right back to me, and then I can tutor for one more thing. They're still getting value out of it. You know, you can tell them what your plan is with the card that you're getting and that kind of stuff, so they're not like, well, they're going to use that against me, and I don't want to give it back to them. Make sure you make a deal before you're just like, I use it and I give it to you, and then hope you get it back. Yeah, don't do that. So there you go. Moving on. Liliana Dreadhorde General. Oh my goodness. This is one of those planeswalkers where it's like, yeah, that's quite impactful. 6 mana, Liliana, starts off with 6 loyalty. Whenever a creature control dies, draw a card. That's already huge. That's already worth the price of admission for literally just paying 6 mana. It's like, oh, you know what? Okay, 6 mana. Hey, any creature I control dies, including token creatures. It does not specify non-token. I am drawing cards. Literally, if this was just that and it said nothing else on it, it would probably still see a good amount of play. +1, make a zombie. -4, everyone sacrifice 2 creatures. -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifice the rest. That is, they lose the game. That includes lands. They lose the game. That is just a I win the game effect. So if you have Doubling Season, congratulations, you just win because you can activate that right away. That being said, yeah, again, Liliana being like, you know what? Creatures dying, I just draw. That is massive. Again, for so many strategies out there, including Risk Rats, very popular strategy. Yeah, doesn't specify token. So, yeah, or non-token, I should say. So that is huge. Most things do. $4 right now, down from like $10+ or so. That is a huge deal right now. So if you've got a Super Friend strategy, if you've got a, of course, Risk Rat strategy, zombies, whatever you want to do, or just like a Doubling Season shenanigans, I win automatically kind of strategy, there you go. Moving on, a Johnny Call the Pride, a much more inexpensive Planeswalker. This one's around like $2-3 or so, down to just 60 cents right now. That being said, if you like Planeswalkers, great. If you like cats, great, cool. +1, counter on a creature. -3, gives only flying double strike. -8, make a bunch of cats based on your life total. That is an I win the game condition too, just a bit different. That being said, yeah, Planeswalkers might want to utilize this kind of a strategy, or yeah, just a creature-based strategy, or like a life gain strategy, you might want to consider it too. Moving on, Galta Primal Hunger, down to just 51 cents right now. Again, one that's like been about $2-3 or so, depending on the time. 12 dinosaur that costs 12 mana, but it doesn't. Usually just costs 2 mana. It's got trample as well. Basically, it gets reduced based on power. So if you got a Power Matters deck or a dinosaur deck or anything like a big creature deck, or just this as your commander, yeah, it can be a lot of fun for you. Moving on. Darksteel Colossus, speaking of fun, $6.32 right now. Big drop down from around like $9 or $10 or so. 11 trample indestructible, and then the whole like, shuffle into its library thing if it hits the graveyard. Basically, this is the little brother of Blightsteel Colossus, or maybe it's the older brother. I think it's been around longer, right? But still, it doesn't really matter all that much because Blightsteel sees, all the play compared to this one. This is still a very good card and a very, very spicy card. Again, a giant 11, trample indestructible, huge threat. That being said, doesn't have Infect, obviously, but you could find a way to give it Infect. If you like a big, heavy hitter like this one, definitely consider it, though. Again, and this one doesn't see, like, any reprints ever. Printed in Darksteel. 2010, it got reprinted. Secret Lair drops don't count for reprints really at all. Down to $6. It's like the 3rd time it's been reprinted. Quite the price drop. Moving on. Progenitus. Oh my spice. Okay, so this one, again, is basically double Wooburg for the casting cost, which you always like to see goofy casting costs like that, right? You're like, yeah, okay, cool, all right. My gosh, how do I cast that? This is one where, when you first see it, like when you first start playing Magic, at least when I saw it, I was like, how does anyone ever deal with that? Protection from everything! A simple edict effect will take it out. Also, like a mass bounce effect will, do that as well. Actually, you know what? A wrath effect will do it too. Anything that doesn't target it, or actually, like not a damage-based effect too, can still take it out. That being said, it's protected from basically any targeted removal and a lot of things out there too. It's still a big, spicy creature. It's a lot of fun to play. If you've never played a commander deck built around it, it's a lot of fun just being like, let's get it out. And then find some weird ways to pump it, because I can't attach anything to it. So yeah, find some weird ways to pump it, and then get it through, and all of a sudden, yay, I've taken out my opponents, because they can't block it either, because it's got protection from creatures too. So yeah, 64 cents for this gem of a card, down from like $5 or so. This one never sees any reprints, so very, very cool. Moving on. Meowgem Knight's Reach. If you want to get a little brutal, look into some of the Meowgem. This one, is a little brutal. $2.96, the very first reprinting ever of this gem from Champions of Kamigawa, which are around $8.37 previously. Apparently. Meowgem Knight's Reach. This one enters a divinity counter on if you cast from your hand. Again, that does say hand, so as a commander, you gotta do some really weird and wonky stuff to actually get this back in your hand from the command zone to actually get that divinity counter on to cast it. That being said, indestructible if you got the divinity counter on it. You can remove that divinity counter from it. Each opponent discards their hand. Brutal. Yeah, so literally if you can get this out, if you've got like a Meowgem deck, you're just like, okay, cool. Get it out, proliferate, awesome. Get more counters on it, move a counter. My opponents have no hands. That's literally what you can do. You can just keep doing that again and again and again by proliferating again and again and again. Your opponents can never have any hands ever again. It's a brutally effective card. Or you can build an entire deck around it as the commander and do some really weird and wonky things. Fun. Moving on. Rune Scarred Demon. I never thought I'd see the day where this thing was literally within my budget, and my goodness, it is. This is huge. 35 cents right now for this card. Again, another card that really hasn't seen many reprintings ever. 2012 is what was printed. Masters reprint for that one. Commander Masters reprinted the list. This is like the first big actual reprint outside of a Master set, which do have, a higher price threshold for them too. This one is going to make a massive impact on the price, and it already has. ETB, tutor for something. Again, not ETB. Not even like ETB with a cast trigger requirement. No, it's just a straight up ETB. So yeah, you can use and abuse that a lot. Tutor for a lot of amazing things. And again, as a 6/6 flyer for 7 mana, it's not the worst thing in the world. And it being a demon, obviously, that is applicable to a tribal deck around it too. So yeah, down to just 35 cents right now from a card that usually was around like $4 or $5 or so. That is a huge price drop. Moving on. Do you like dragons? Do you like engines? Do you like Ramos? There you go. There's a question G and answer. Do you want to get a lot of mana for doing a lot of cool things? Congratulations. This is the commander or just creature in the deck for you. Ramos Dragon Engine. You cast a bunch of spells with a bunch of different colors. You get counters on it. Maybe you get extra counters on it in other ways. So like proliferating, whatever you're going to be doing. Move counters from it. Make double Wooburg mana. So maybe you can play Progenitus from there. There you go. But yeah, you can do a lot of exciting things with this one. Down to just $2.94. Down from around $4 or $5 or so usually. So yeah, it's a good steal for this one right now. Moving on. Muldrotha of the Gravetide. Now this is a giant price drop. This is a card that... yeah, down to just 86 cents right now. Less than $1 for a card that's like $8, $9, $10 or so. And for some versions of it, again, look at that, $147 for one version of it. It's a card that used to definitely be on top of Commander as the most popular commander of all time at one point. It was definitely up there. It's not anymore. It's still a very exciting commander. It's one that's also just very good in the 99 of certain decks out there. Basically, your graveyard is an extension of your hand for permanence. You just get to cast a land or permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. Play, I should say, for a land. Regardless, being able to just go you know what? Okay, there's my artifact for the turn. There's my enchantment for the turn. There's my creature for the turn. There's my land for the turn. And of course, you can do some really exciting things with it. Utilizing cards out of your graveyard is a lot of fun. Again, your graveyard's an extension of your hand now. Have fun with it. Again, if you haven't ever played it, we'll draw the deck. It's a lot of fun. A lot of cool things you can do with it. Spore Frog. What's not to love about that? Moving on. Masker Worm, a card that its price has been massacred over the years recently. Thank goodness. It was like a $5 card, and I wrote this one off as well as a card that I would never be able to play with as a budget player. And yes, the price has dropped to the point where it's like, yeah, keep reprinting it, please. Down to just 88 cents right now, finally under $1. A card that was hovering a little bit around like $150 for a while. Now finally under $1. Pick it up if you've been waiting for this one like me. Moving on. Aurelia, the War Leader, down to $4.40 right now, down from like $8, $9, $10 or so. A massive price drop for this one. As a commander, very cool. Swing! Okay, untap all your creatures. Do it again! Yay! Extra combat on that first attack with this one. That being said, yeah, of course, if you have a card where or a deck where you want this in 99, where you're like, you know what, extra combat's gonna be great with me. If you're just like a go wide aggressive strategy, this can be very good. If you're just like an angel strategy, you're like, yeah, I've got some evasive creatures. Or if you've got like a, hey, you know what? I've got attack trigger doublers or stuff like that. You can do a lot of exciting things with that. So yeah, if you want a creature that can give you extra combats, look no further than Aurelia. Next up, Regal Caracol. If you like cats, congratulations, here's a cat that does cat things. Gives your other cats +1 in lifelink. Enters the battlefield, gives you more cats with lifelink. Cool, so they have double lifelink, which is not really a thing. That being said, 50 cents right now for this one, dropping down from around $2 or so. If you like cat tribal, or just in general, if you like, it is still, I mean, like 7 power across 3 bodies, thanks to that Anthem. Yeah, it's still pretty good for like a go wide strategy in general to be like, yeah, I got 3 creatures of decent amount of power and some life gain with there too. Life gain decks kind of things considered too. But yeah, cat tribal is mainly where you're going to see this one. Moving on, Lathril, Blade of the Elves. 26 cents right now for one of the most popular commanders of all time. Do you like elves? Do you like, forcing your opponents to lose a bunch of life thanks to your elves? Do you like, getting a bunch of elves when this hits? Cool. It can definitely be in an elf tribal deck in the 99. Obviously, a great commander for them as well. Just 26 cents for this gem. Down from like, $5 or so. So a huge price drop right there. Make it more approachable to many players out there. Be like, you know what? I don't have to spend a lot of money on the commander either. And you can grab a lot of cheap elves out there and build a very effective elf deck for not a lot of money. Moving on. Kraken Mob Boss. Speaking of which, might have to do an episode around this one where I'm just like, you know what? What's the cheapest Krenko deck I can build? Because there's a lot of cool things that you can do with Krenko. 41 cents right now for, again, one of the most popular commanders all time. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe last time I checked, EDH Rec with the most popular commanders of all time. In the top 20, I believe Krenko is, and is the only monocolor commander out there, and it's so simple, so effective. Tap, make more goblins. Tap, make more goblins. Tap, make more goblins. You just tap and you double up your goblin army every single time. It's simple, it's effective. If you've never played against a Krenko deck, yeah, it can get scary too. Yeah, just 41 cents right now, definitely like $3 or so. So yeah, if you've been waiting for Krenko to get very, very, very budget friendly, whether it's to utilize it in a goblin deck or as the commander of a goblin deck, go for it now. Next up, Astria Highborn. This one says whenever another vampire you control dies, you can pay a black mana. If you do, target player lose 2, you gain 2. If you got Vampire Tribal, this is the time to pick this one up. It was printed in Worldwake a long, long, long time ago. It got reprinted by the list, but that doesn't really count again, like I've mentioned, when it comes to like actual reprint value for the most part. And down to just $188 right now. It's like a $5-6 card. So yeah, quite the price drop. If you've been waiting for this gem for a Vampire Tribal deck to be reprinted, there you go. Next up, Giada Font of Hope. Speaking of Tribal, a lot of great reprints for that. 59 cents right now, down from like $4 or $5 or so. A very popular Angel Tribal commander. I believe, did this one take over the top spot? I think it might have, actually. That being said, it can be great in Angel Tribal decks in the 99. Of course, great as the commander as well. Basically a mana dork for your Angels and also a giant pump effect for Angels too. Saying like, you know what? The more Angels I get into play, the more counters they get when they come into play. Down from like $3, $4, $5 or so, down to just 59 cents, a steal right now. And then finally, Dragon Master Outcast. A steal when it comes to its mana value, number 1. Get into play turn 1. Cool. It does nothing for a while. That being said, once you control 6 or more lands, you get a 5/5 dragon creature with flying on every single one of your upkeeps. Sure, you can go Dragon Tribal this one. You can just go like tokens, go wide strategy. You can go with a land strategy with this one. You can go with a populate strategy too. It can go in a lot of different kinds of strategies out there. A good amount of savings for it right now. The first time I've ever seen it underneath $1, 36 cents right now. It's been reprinted quite a few times recently to finally drop that price down. It was like a $4 or $5 card. Now down to just 36 cents. So yeah, make sure you're picking up this card and all the other ones. I'll make sure I include a link in the description below. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.